my name's Elaine Farndale, I'm the director of the school, and to think we've got 23 years of history behind this particular award is amazing in itself. But the other thing to think of is that every single one of you in the room here today can be the next person standing up here. I'm sure our speaker wasn't thinking before she graduated, I'm sure our speaker wasn't imagining herself on this stage when she was a student, but remember, every single one of you here, you have an equal chance of being our 35th Outstanding Alumni Award winner. Just before I hand over, I just want to say that it's a privilege to be part of the School of Labour and Employment Relations. And this
it's just how close you are.
No, it keeps going off on the actual thing for some reason. I'll keep my finger pressed on it. The school is really an amazing place because of our alumni. We have an incredible group of people who are dedicated and visit campus regularly. We have an alumni board of over 30 people, and tomorrow we have a full day meeting with that alumni board, and they input into everything that you're learning in the classroom. They're telling us what we need in the curriculum so that you get great jobs at the end of the day. So we have a number of alumni board members here today. I wonder whether we can just, a very impromptu, but our alumni board members just stand a moment, please, and give them a round of applause. Wonderful, thank you very much. But on that note, I don't want to take up too much time. I really appreciate all of you being here. I think you're going to have a fantastic evening. This is going to be a wonderful talk. I'm going to hand over to the chair of the alumni board, who is going to introduce our speaker today. So Beth Albright is the current co-chair of the alumni board. We have Keith Petrosky also is another co-chair, but unfortunately he was too busy running a marathon or something to be here tonight, so good luck to him on the marathon. But Beth, if I can hand over to you.
Thank you. So thank you all for coming. I'm very excited to introduce this year's Outstanding Alumni. As Dr. Elaine said, I'm the current co-president of the Alumni Association, and actually last year's Outstanding Alumni. So I understand the excitement that this has for our alumni to speak to all of you. So I'd like to introduce Dionne Wiggins. I have her bio here, so if you'll indulge me while I read the highlights. She serves as the Vice President of People and Culture at American Jewish World Services in New York City. Dionne drives key objectives related to transforming organizational culture, systems, and processes to ensure that they are the best in class. Dionne leads the division responsible for strategic human resources, partnerships, recruitment, payroll, benefits, labor and employee relations, and fosters a culture of care, accountability, and honesty so that the American Jewish World Services staff can thrive in a supportive and inclusive environment. And I think you're going to find this idea of inclusiveness pretty prominent in her bio and probably her speech as well. A staunch and passionate advocate for women, children, people of color, individuals with disabilities, and animals, Dionne is a dedicated leader with more than 23 years of combined professional experience in the legal, human resources, and DEI sectors. She works for the New York City Department of Education. It's being finical. She has worked for private organizations, law offices, nonprofits, and government agencies. Dionne holds a bachelor's degree in legal studies from the John J. Cuny College of Criminal Justice, a master's degree from Penn State's School of Labor Studies and Employee Relations, and a JD Juris Doctorate from Widener University School of Law. And she also has a certificate in conflict resolution from Cornell University. She is well educated. During her law school tenure, Dionne served as the president of the Black Law Students Association and the president of the Women's Law Caucus. Dionne was selected. It's not coming back through. There we go. We're going to try another one. We're going to try another one. Either that, I'm just going to yell at you. Which works as well. This is where. Okay, here we go. Seems much better. Thank you. Okay, so Dionne served as the president of the Black Law Students Association, the president of the Women's Law Caucus, and she was selected as the fellow of the Martin Luther King Jr. program, which was established to promote cultural and ethnic diversity and legal services and to honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. But more importantly, Dionne hails from a long line of strong women and men, particularly her mother and her grandfather, who instilled in her a belief that servant leadership is paramount to being a great leader. Dionne is the mother of three, including her Australian Terrier fur baby, and her greatest accomplishment by far are her beautiful daughter and her son. And just so you know, most parents would believe the same thing. For all of you sitting here in the audience, that's what your parents would say as well. Her daughter and her son are the center of everything she does in her life. So I proudly and humbly present to you Dionne Wiggins.
Good evening, everyone. How are you today? One more time. Good evening, everyone. How are you today? How are you doing this evening? How about this? We are? Penn State. We are? Penn State. We are? Penn State. Ah, now we're cooking. Well, I first of all want to say thank you so much for having me here tonight. It really is an honor to be here to speak to all of you. And I'm very, very excited to have been selected as the recipient for this year's Outstanding Alumni Award. I was actually a little shocked, but it was a good shock. So I really want to thank the alumni board here, School of Labor and Employment Relations, for nominating me, for selecting me. I'm extremely humbled by that. And so when I was thinking about this talk today, I was thinking, what do I want to say? What would represent me, right? Because I'm the type of person that, you know, you've heard about my accolades and you've heard about some of my experience, but I really want to give you an opportunity to know who I am, because knowing that will help you understand that you can be whoever you are and you can be standing on the stage just like me. So when I was thinking about it, I thought about the journey versus the destination, right? Which is what you see up here. And a lot of times when we see versus, right, we think about, you know, a competition or a battle or some type of challenge, right? Holyfield versus Tyson, prosecution versus defense, things of that nature, right? You versus me, us versus them. Lots of verses and a lot of statements. And so for me, I thought about this journey, right? Versus the destination. I'm a firm believer that your destination, it's out there. It's there, right? It's there from the time that you're born, but it's the journey to get to that destination. That's what sometimes we have a little bit of difficulty with, right? And that sometimes distracts us, and that sometimes makes us feel as if that destination is not even possible. So, if you'll indulge me, how many of you know the movie Back to the Future? Yes. Raise your hands again. Okay. This is amazing, because I didn't want to feel archaic up here saying that, right? So if you'll indulge me for just a moment, I want to take you back to the future, my future. So I'm a 70s baby, right? I'm not gonna say the year. I'll give it to you, 75, it's okay. I like disco. Who likes disco in here? That's it? Now you all are aging me. Okay, so I'm a 70s baby. I like disco. I love anything music. But the point of me saying that is I want to share with you, from the time I was in elementary school, to junior high school, to high school, I was in gifted and talented classes, I was in advanced placement classes, honors classes, and I said to my mom, I said, Mom, I don't want to be smart. Like, is this cool? Like, I wanted to be one of the cool kids. To which my mom answered, well, if not being smart is cool, then you're just not gonna be cool, okay? So I said, okay, Mom, then I guess I'm gonna be smart and cool, because what I realized is you can be cool and you can be smart. How many smart, cool folks do we have in here? All the hands in this room should go up, right? So, you know, from high school, and then I went on to college, and from college, I always knew that I wanted a career in law. I knew that. That's my journey, my definition of what my journey was supposed to be, right? So I knew that I wanted to go to law school eventually, and I did. And so went to law school, wonderful career at Widener Law in Harrisburg. Have one of my friends and fellow alum here in the crowd, Jeff. Say hello to everybody. I'm putting you on the spot. Came out to support me. Thank you so much. Widener Law was definitely one of the best decisions that I made. At Widener, what I realized was getting a law school education was important, but what was really important was to have the support, right? To have a huge support network. And that's what I had at Widener. And so after graduating from Widener, I had an amazing opportunity. As a matter of fact, let me backtrack. I had wonderful opportunities for internships during my law school tenure. Now, when I graduated, I received an opportunity to work for an amazing law firm, Smigel, Anderson & Sachs in Harrisburg. And it was great. Things were going wonderful. And then life happened, right? That journey. So because of something that happened very personal in my family, I needed to pivot. And so what do you do when life changes come about? Sometimes we crumble, sometimes we kick and scream, sometimes we go with the flow, sometimes we just stop, right? But for me, stopping wasn't an option. So I remember sitting at my desk at my law firm, and I said, what am I gonna do? And I thought, okay. My mentor, Lisa Moran, had said to me prior to me going to law school, you know, if you ever decide that you wanna change careers, or if you ever decide you wanna leave law, go into human resources. I said, okay, Lisa. Because Lisa's smart. She's one of the smart, cool folks, right? So she said it, I said, okay. I knew nothing about human resources, but I knew that if Lisa said that that was an option, because she's a labor and employment law attorney, an amazing human resources professional, I held on to that. And it was during this time of change where I needed to pivot, where those words came into my head, and I said, I'm gonna go into human resources, because I wasn't making a change from the law because I didn't like it or I didn't have a love for it. I wasn't making a change because my firm was horrible. They were amazing. I was making a change because I needed to. I needed my time commitment to change from work to my family. And this was a way for me to do that and still work in a profession that allowed me to have that human touch, which is so important to me. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna make this change. I go into my office manager's office and I say, Kathy, 2 weeks. I'm leaving. She said, what? What do you mean? One of the partners, I tell him the same thing. What are you talking about, Dionne? You have this amazing career ahead of you here. What are you talking about? I'm talking about life. I'm talking about the journey. And so I left. But what was I gonna do? So I decided, I did some recruiting in law school. Eric Niskern was our director of admissions there, another amazing person. That's part of my journey. So I said, I'll go into recruiting. Recruiting's a part of HR, right? Sure. So I got a job working for an organization. It was a staffing firm, recruiting, but it wasn't traditional human resources recruiting. If you know anything about staffing, there's a sales aspect to it, and if that's not your thing, it's just not gonna be your thing, right? So I got a lot of no's. I was getting so many no's. I would send out my resume. Sometimes I'd get the call for the interview. I'd go in and they said, well, why do you want to be here? You have a legal career. Why do you want to work in human resources? Lawyers are adversarial. We're not. And so it was another moment sitting at my desk at the staffing firm that I was working for. And I said, I'm going back to school. That's it. Going back to school. Because for me, and I'm sure for many of you, education is everything. But the question was, where was I gonna go? Time commitment. I could not go back to a building, right? That wasn't gonna work for my life. So I got online. I started looking for programs, human resources. I saw a few, not for me. Saw a couple more, still not for me. Then Penn State came up. I would drop this mic right now if it wasn't gonna make such a loud sound. So that was a mic drop moment. But Penn State came up. And I knew at that moment, that was it. I was going to Penn State. And so World Campus, online programs, we're talking 2008, 2009, kind of new. Not Penn State, they were ready. They were ahead of their time, as usual, right? So I applied, I got in, and it's go time. And so I'm going through the program, everything's going great. That journey, my God. So I had to take a break. But you know what was so amazing about Penn State and the program that I was in? You can take a break. You can take a break and you can come back. But my break wasn't a real break. It was going from 3 or 4 classes to 1 class, right? That's a break for me. Eventually, I graduated, right? 2013. But in 2010, me and Penn State, we started kicking doors down. I got my first job in human resources as an HR generalist. Very humbling experience, by the way. And this is something that I really, really want to point out before I go any further. You heard me say that I graduated from law school and had a legal career, was working for a law firm. Sometimes your journey will feel like you're going backwards. And sometimes you might be going backwards. But sometimes you gotta go backwards to go forward, right? If you pull into a parking spot, do you need to back out to go forward? Yeah? I see heads nodding. You absolutely do. So I got my first job in 2010 at an organization, human resource generalist. I said, this is it. You know why I got that job? Yes, I got it because of my experience. Yes, I got it because of my ability to interview well. But what sparked that conversation? You went to Penn State? Sure did. Sure did. Yep, sure did. Did you? No. But I have family that went there. And a couple of my friends that went there. Yeah, I did. And so I say all of this to say that journey versus the destination, it is a bit of a battle, right? It's something, as you go through your journey and as you go along your path, it will feel some days like you're never gonna make it to your destination. But you remember what I said at the top of this talk, right? That destination, it's way over there. When you're born, you're over here. This in the middle, where I'm standing, this is the journey. And so when you think about your journey And when you think about your reasons, right? The core of that is this: your why. Your why is going to change from moment to moment, from day to day, from situation to situation. But at the core of that why, it always has to be you. You are the reason why you will succeed. You are the reason why you will continue to move forward. If you make a decision to change your career goals, if you make a decision to change your goals for school, just remember, at the end of the day, never lose yourself in that decision. For me, switching from a legal career to a career in human resources, I would have never thought that that would have been my path. But there are people along the way that are going to be a part of your journey. My mentors, professors, Professor Rex Simpson, putting him on the spot right here. You know, taking a course with Professor Simpson really helped me understand how to merge labor and employment law with human resources, right? That's a very, very important piece when you are working in labor relations. So you're being taught by real professors, and you're learning things that you're actually going to use in the real world. Professor Tom Hogan, he's the reason why I know how to do a scorecard. Let me tell you. Because when he gave us that final project that we had to do, I was like, okay, this is not going to happen for me. What is a scorecard, Professor Hogan? But you know what he did? He took the time to explain it. And he picked up the phone when we called. And here at Penn State, that's what you have. You have an opportunity to learn, and not only learn, but to be heard. And that is so, so, so very important. You know, my CEO, Robert Bank, asked me a question when I was talking to him about this. I said, oh my gosh, Robert, and you're having conversations about this. And he says, you know, well, you said your why, like you're the center or you're the core of your why. What happens if you lose that? Or if you can't find it, or you can't focus on it? I said, Robert, that is an amazing question. I love a good question that makes me think outside the box, right? And I said, you know what? It happens. Because sometimes we get so caught up, we do forget about us, right? So my response, if you ever lose yourself, be it temporarily, be it for a little bit of a long time, let your why be those that are watching. Let your why be those that are listening. Let your why be those that you don't even know will watch you down the line. Let your why be those that will hear you down the line. And as I stand here before you, as the Vice President of People and Culture for American Jewish World Service, I stand here proud because I am someone who so many people said that I would not be standing here. But perseverance and belief in yourself and ensuring that you take care of you and that you believe in your why and that you understand this concept of journey versus destination is what will get you here. And I don't just mean here on this stage, I mean here. So if you want a career, you're already a career that you can really be proud of, you're already on your way. You're here at Penn State. And as I stand here in my chucks and pearls, I stand here as an example of that. And I really, really, really am so proud of all of you for taking the time to come here, because everything that I say might not relate, but I really, really hope that you get something out of this. And even if that something is just making a decision on what you want to study, or being able to ask a question the next time you're in a space, I want to congratulate you all ahead of time on your success. And I really, really look forward to seeing some of you in the future, hopefully on this stage. Thank you.
that's so humbling, but also so relevant to everybody in the room. So thank you so much for what you've been saying. But now we have time for questions. And the sign-in sheets are not available until the end of this session. So let's have a flow of questions. We have a discussion, and then we'll get you on your way back to the library again afterwards.
Yes.
So. that laugh was too loud, Beth. Questions for Dionne?
I had a question that, like, you talked about journey and destination. I would ask, like, what you enjoyed more, the journey or the destination?
Amazing question. Did you all hear his question? He said, I talked about the journey and destination. He wants to know what I enjoyed more. Ooh, that is a good one. So right now, I will tell you, standing here today, I am loving my destination. You know, I made a vision board for myself, and I said, by the time I'm 50 years old, excuse me, I want to be the vice president of a human resources office. And here I am standing in that achievement. So I'm really enjoying the destination. But I can't discount the journey, because the journey, you know, albeit difficult at times, albeit, you know, one where I was just like, oh my goodness, I'm not gonna make it, I definitely enjoyed the journey. What was great about the journey were both the successes and the failures, because the failures make your successes just that much more greater. So if that makes any sense, I would say both.
Other questions? I'll only have one down here. I've got one. I'll come to that one next. I'll go this way first.
I'm not really sure how to like word this correctly, but like I know a lot of people say that like it's never too late to like do anything. But what if you're like just one of those people you feel like started slow and like you need to like pick up your momentum? You know what I mean?
I'm going to speak to Penn State and get them to invest in a second microphone that works.
You need my watch for your steps. You are working it. So the question was, and I'll paraphrase, she's heard people say that it's never too late to start, but what would you do or could you do to kind of gain momentum when you start late, right? So it's a great question, and I am a firm believer of it's never too late to start anything, because as long as we have breath in our body, it's another opportunity to do it and to do it right and to do it amazing. And so that's a mantra, you know, that I live by. And when you find yourself in a slump, it's good to have people around you that are doing great things. So I would say to that, surround yourself with success. And that's not just money, that's not just, you know, a fabulous job. That is positivity, that is great energy, that is support, that's your village. And that for me is everything. I have amazing friends, I have amazing colleagues, I have an amazing family, I have a mom that is just like, yeah, you slowing down? Pick it up, let's go. So, you know, if you have someone in your life like that, make that person your person. And then when you get your stride and when you're going, you be that person to someone else, because that's how we keep the cycle going. That's how we do it.
Thank you. It's so funny when I fall down these stairs next time.
You were talking about the journey and the destination, but what if you can't find your destination?
Some of you need to be up here with me. These questions are amazing. If you can't find your destination, what would I say to that? That's a really good question. If you can't find your destination, I would just say to keep going. Because for me, I had a goal, right? But that wasn't always my goal. My goal at one point, my destination, as far as what I knew, was I was going to be this big time lawyer. I was going into entertainment law. I was going to, practice law. I was going to defend stars if they did something wrong. I was going to make sure they got the best houses they needed. I was best contracts. That's what I was going to do. That was my destination. But your destination can change, right? As far as what we know. But what we don't know and what we don't find out until we get there is what it is. And so I say that to say, sometimes it feels like you can't find your destination, but yes, you can. It's already there. It's the journey that makes you feel like you can't find it. It's the journey that you feel like you're on this diverted path. It's the journey that makes you feel like you're stalled. It's the journey that makes you feel like, my God, this is a journey. But when you get to your destination, you'll say, I'm here. So you'll know. It's this thing here. It's your why. You'll know, you'll feel it. Because I feel it. And that's how you know. It's there.
Other questions? I've got. Oh no, maybe you can. I'll go to the back and I'll come down. I'll run up the back. I'm having steps today, so okay.
Hi. First of all, such a great talk. Second of all, so you said that human touch was the most important part of your just career. So do you think that as a lawyer or as a human resources vice president, you were able to get more of that human touch aspect?
It also gives you thinking time, dear.
It's like Jeopardy.
Thank you.
So legal versus human resources. Do I get more of a human touch? Which one did I get more of a human touch in which field? In law, you work with individuals, at a law firm, you're working with clients, and so you get that human touch there. And depending on, I guess, the type of law that you're practicing or what you're doing, you feel it less or more, right? But in human resources, you feel it all the time. And that for me is it's the difference. And it's a difference that I didn't even know existed. Because remember what I said, I didn't know anything about human resources. I said, this is where you get your paychecks. This is where you get your benefits. This is where they let you know how much vacation time you have. That's what human resources was to me before I, moved into the field. But it's so much more about people. And as we shift, right, this notion of human resources to people and culture, right? It's the people aspect of it. That's why, at my organization, they're so forward thinking, right? Vice president of, not HR, but vice president of people and culture. And it doesn't mean we lose the human touch, right? We don't lose the human resources piece of it, right? Because that's the policies, that's the procedures, that's the undergird, right? But the people aspect of it, that's what rises to the top and what rises to the occasion. And so to answer your question, I would say both, but I'm really enjoying this people touch that I'm doing in people and culture. All right. All right. Oh boy. What's the history here? What are the chances that your fellow law school alum is in the building is going to ask you a question?
Yeah, so I couldn't resist the opportunity. So, Dionne, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit because I was part of the journey, especially in law school.
Yeah, you are.
And one of the things that really was impressive, and you talk about it a little bit, is the inclusivity that you brought to the table. And Dionne actually recruited me to be part of the Black Law Students Association. And my question or request for reflection from you is, during that point and throughout your career, and just in life, your inclusivity efforts, I'd like you to kind of reflect on how that impacted your journey, but also the journey of others. Because I know it impacted my own journey, because it definitely opened my eyes to things that I never knew growing up in suburban Pittsburgh. And so with that in mind, I'd really like to hear your thoughts.
Jeff, thank you. You know that I am an absolute advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And thank you for bringing things full circle. You know, as the president of the Black Law Students Association when I was in law school and the president of the Women's Law Caucus, I recruited everybody because inclusivity means just that. You include everybody. So it was the Black Law Students Association, but you did not need to be black to be a part of the Black Law Students Association. And for me, it was very important to open the minds of those people that were around me, right? And it was very important for me to share that diversity, equity, and inclusion is about much more than race. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is about our differences, and our differences are oftentimes what make us the same. They make us, we're human. And so it shaped my life. It's a part of my life. I walk in it every single day as a black woman. I'm raising a black son. I'm very proud of that. I'm raising a black daughter. I was raised by a black mother. But I also have friends and family members who are of different races, right? So it's not the race aspect that we should always focus in on with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that, Jeff, is what I was trying to teach. And I thank you for highlighting that and letting me know that it did resonate with you. And I hope that it resonated with so many other people. And even the Women's Law Caucus, I brought everyone into that because we're all allies of one another in some way, shape, or form. And the diversity piece is so important in everything that I do right now, professionally and personally, that I don't make a move without thinking about it. You know, and if we're all going to be forward thinkers, and as you think about your careers and how you're going to move into, you know, a space in as a leader, right? Servant leadership for me is, ooh, it's everything. But understanding inclusivity, it's top for me. It really, really is. Because if you leave one person out, you have failed. And we will not fail. So never, ever, ever forget that as you move into your leadership roles. And never forget it when you walk out this door and you're walking down the stairs. It's so important to really, really include everyone in everything that you do. Thank you for that, Jeff.
We have more questions.
Hi. So I have a question. Like you talked about how you were a pre-law major and then you went to a law school, right? But then you decided that you want something else, or you know, you changed your career, right? Mm-hmm. So have you ever had those doubts that, you know, maybe I don't know anything about this, like career, and I have no knowledge about it, and or maybe, you know, even if you did go to Penn State, like you did not study it for, you know, throughout college or, you know, for a major part of your life. So how do you deal with those, how did you deal with those doubts and how did you overcome that?
So the question, just for individuals who may not have heard, was, as a career changer, changing from law to human resources, how did I deal with doubts? Or if they did come about, how did I deal with them and how did I resolve them for myself? And I'll be completely transparent with you. Those doubts, they never go away. They never do. Because when you're a career changer, you always feel like at some point you left something on the table, right? Which is not a horrible thing, right? Because again, as long as you're alive and as long as you're breathing, you have a chance to do whatever it is that you want to do. So what's great about those doubts is that it reminds you that you've made a change, but it reminds you of your accomplishments as well. So it's a great reminder that not only have you accomplished something here when you made the change, but don't forget about what you did over here. And those doubts come from fear. And when you have fear, fear is almost crippling. So the way that I resolve it is to just do it. And the way that I do it is I ask questions. I talk to people that have done it before. I talk to career changers. I talk to individuals who are in human resources. I talk to individuals who are still in legal, because the two are really one and the same. Labor and employment law is that underbelly, it's that undergird of human resources, because you cannot do anything in human resources without first checking the laws to make sure that what you're doing is not going to get you or your organization or both in a lot of trouble. So they're one and the same. So for me, the doubts that I might have might be fear of, oh man, I hope I do this right, or oh wow, like I hope that I'm able to really help people understand like why I'm doing this, right? And to be able to explain it. But for some people, those doubts might be different because the careers might not be so close, right? If you change from engineering to, I don't know, law, right? It might not seem like it's the same. But the way that you quiet those doubts, you find that similarity. You find your why in that change that you made, and you never forget about the things that you did prior to that. Bring it with you. That's what I do. It helps me really quiet those doubts. And it has been very, very good for me, and it has helped me be successful.
People in the room might not realize, but we have online students, i.e. people who are always online, World Campus students, who are listening to this talk as well. And we have 3 questions here from our online students. Yeah. There's a special one I'm holding to the end, so be ready for that.
All right.
Okay. The first one is, how did your legal background enhance your work as an HR leader?
Can you repeat it for me?
Sorry. How did your legal background enhance your work as an HR leader?
Oh, well, I mean, that question may have been before I said what I said, but I'll say it again. You know, the law, specifically labor and employment law, is the undergird, it's the underbelly of human resources. And I'll tell you this, society will make you feel a lot of things. One of the things that I heard from some naysayers, because those people exist, and we will not listen to the naysayers, and I never do. But one of the things that I heard quite often was, well, why are you going for a master's degree? You already have a Juris Doctorate. Like, why would you do that? That was one question. The other question was, why would you go to school online when you can just go to a building? And I said, well, why not? And how could you not? Right? But what that did for me, going in reverse, backing out of that parking spot and then going forward, it gave me exactly what I needed. I was able to excel in my master's program because I had, for me personally, because I did the labor track, I had a level of understanding that helped me understand what I was doing. And I'll tell you this, I felt more successful, actually I was more successful in my master's program than I was in my law program. Not because I couldn't do the work, but it was because I had already done some work that was going to help me do this work better. So to answer that question, that's how it enhanced my career.
Thank you. The next question is, what advice does Dionne have for someone who is doing a career change to human resources with no previous HR experience, but whose current career is not as prestigious as having a law career or other high-ranking profession? And how can a person show that they have the drive and determination to do well in HR without years and years of previous HR experience?
That's an amazing question. I spoke a little bit about that when I was sending out my resumes, when I was making that change from law. When I was sending out my resumes, I was getting no after no after no. I would go to the interviews, I would answer the questions, I would think that I did well, and then I'd get a letter that say thanks, but no thanks. And so, just because I was in law, that didn't make it easy for me to transition over to human resources, because remember, now things are a little bit different, but if you think about 10, 12 years ago, really, a lot of human resource professionals thought of law as just being adversarial. Not all, but some, the ones that I encountered, let me correct myself, the ones that I encountered did not get the connection and were not able to make the connection. But I'm so grateful for those that did. I'm grateful for the professors here that do get it and that teach it and that let you know that it is possible. So it doesn't really matter what career you're changing from. You just have to make a decision that you're going to do it and you're going to stay the course. For me, the key was education. You know, now they have so many options out. You know, if you're not able to go back and get your master's degree, you know, in human resources or labor relations, you can get a certificate. Those certificates are gold. I have a certificate in conflict resolution from Cornell University. You know, Penn State, they have certificates. I mean, if you can't go back to get an actual degree at this time, I would say do that work. Go back, get a certificate, show that you're making an effort, show that you want to make the change, network. And I'm not just talking about, you know, be on Zoom all the time. Go to events, have conversations, you know, reach out, use LinkedIn. It really is amazing. And use your alumni network. For all of you that are here, and if this person is currently in a program here at Penn State, I will tell you, the alumni network here is priceless. It is amazing. So that for me is key, was key, is still key. I'm still making connections. I've made some amazing connections being here in Happy Valley these last couple of days. I'm looking forward to more connections. So my answer to that is go to school if you can, get a certificate if you cannot get an actual degree. Network, network, network.
Thank you. I'm just going to say, is there another question in the room before I do a final one on here? There's time for one more in the room, if anyone.
What would be your recommendation to marginalized groups or cultures that feel like they don't have a voice to find their voice or recognition in this day and age?
I had to take a breath there. That was powerful. It's a powerful question. The question was, what advice would I have to marginalized groups that feel like they don't have a voice or can't find their voice? You know, I have been that person in the room who has felt like they didn't have a voice. So not only can I relate to that question, it's a question that I'll answer by saying this. If you feel like you can't speak, write. If you feel like you can't write, stand up. If you feel like you can't stand up, or if you're unable to stand up, tap someone and tell them what you want to say and ask them to speak for you. Because we're all allies of one another. And these spaces that we're in, sometimes the hardest thing to do is speak. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is be seen. When you have on a bright blue shirt and white pearls and bedazzled chucks, the hardest thing to do is sometimes be seen in that room. But the way to really make sure that those people are recognizing them is to make sure that you're a part of them. You're a part of the reason you are recognizing anyone and including anyone in a way that you might think is small, but sometimes just saying hello to someone is giving them space and giving them a voice. Because a lot of times in our lives, we pass people, right? We're constantly doing this. I'm a New Yorker, right? We move fast. We're always moving. We're moving and shaking. But if you tell someone, hey, your hair looks amazing today. Hey, can I hold the door for you? Hey, just hey. You never know what you're doing for that person. And that could be someone who feels marginalized, right? Because again, we're not just talking about people that are marginalized because of the color of their skin, right? We're talking about people that feel marginalized for anything. You just never know what someone is going through and what they're experiencing. So you be that change. That's how we make sure that they have a voice in the room.
Hey, so Dionne, I'm going to warn you, this next question, it starts with
I'm ready.
It starts with hey mummy.
Oh.
Okay? So,
Oh my goodness.
hey mummy, it's your amazing and beautiful daughter. I was wondering if you're happy to be where you are in life. Would you change anything if you've done, would you change anything you've done if you could? And then she adds on a little later, I just want to say that I'm proud of you and love you so much. You've come so far and I'm honored to have been by your side this entire time. If you could
Oh, Danae. That's my daughter. Man, you know, I got through this without, you know, getting emotional, and I even talked about my mom, and I'm still like standing strong, but you know, that daughter of mine, she's something else, and I'm sure my son is somewhere close. He's probably watching too, and he's like, hey mom, you know. Would I change anything? I would not change one single solitary thing in my journey. I wouldn't change anything, because if I changed anything, you guys remember I started with Back to the Future? What happens if you change something? You change your future, right? I needed to get to this destination. So no, dear daughter, I would not change anything. More importantly, I'm so proud of the decisions that I made, the hard decisions, the decisions when I was scared, the decisions when people told me, what are you doing? You know, the decisions that really affected other lives, my children, you know, my mom. Yeah, no, I wouldn't, because I needed to be here today to say this, that I wouldn't change anything in my journey. So, no. And thank you for saying that you're proud of me, because everything that I've done is for you and your brother. So, yes.
Well, thank you so much for all of your insights tonight. I think we're immensely proud to be a part of your circle now, your journey, and your destination. So thank you so much. We have the pleasure of, in the alumni board, of speaking more with Dionne tomorrow. But I just want to say, before we give a very big thank you to Dionne for speaking today. I just wanted to recognize one of the group of people who are in the audience here today, and they are your faculty. So the faculty who are here from the school, if you could just stand for a moment, please. They're here for you to help you along your journey, so please take advantage of that as much as you can. But for now, time to do a huge thank you for Dionne, and then sign up.